Hey, welcome to Potato Shop Podcast. This is Brian.
Iron Dutch Murdoch.
And we're here today. We're going to talk about a little professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, maybe a little boxing, who knows. So let's just jump right into it. We were, right before we clicked the mics here, you started to talk about the NWA getting their editing together. Go on and expand.
So the comment that Jim Cornette made here back in the first season of NWA Powerrr, you know, that should have been edited out before it ever went live. And just here when Nick Aldis and them turned heel, and you got Camille standing up in the middle of the ring making out with one of those tag team guys. Now that's been edited out. And it's like, well, then that should have never went live. You should have edited that out before it ever played out. But they don't. They let this stuff go and they let it hit the air. And then it goes, oh, well, you know what? Maybe that wasn't such a good idea. And they want to backpedal on it. So then they want to re-edit. And it's like, that is absolutely the stuff that you should be making a determination when you're editing it. Because basically, by letting her stand up there and, you know, make out with the old boy, well, why is she Nick Aldis's valet now? What's the connection here between them? Why is her loyalty with him if her boyfriend's part of the tag team?
Right. That does make sense. I think you should have a little bit tighter of the editing there. But I don't know where they're going exactly with the character, because, you know, she'll come out and she'll whisper in, who does she whisper in? Tim Storm's ear and James Storm right before Into the Fair. And so you don't know where it's going, but I do understand what you're saying, that why isn't she out there with the wild card now? If she was romantically involved with one, they've got the other blonde lady coming out there with, who is, I guess, romantically involved with Isaacs. So,
right. So of that group now, Nick Aldis is the only one that doesn't have a romantic involvement. So I guess, you know, they're going to have to work on getting Mickie James brought in, since that's his, you know, real life wife. But it's like, you know, it's Bush League, man. You know, they need to tighten that crap up. And they need to do a better job of controlling these spoilers that are going out here, because you got that old dipstick that was on Tosh.0 wants to out the fact that Scott Steiner was going to be in season 2 before they even started showing season 2 episodes. It's no different than when Ricky Morton went on there and announced that they were the 9-time heavyweight champions weeks before they won the titles. It's like, you know, that's the problem with the business, and that's the problem, like with that Wrestling Observer and all that other crap, is the reason that people don't enjoy wrestling the way they used to is because there is no surprise anymore.
Yeah. Now, the only thing I'll say with Scott Steiner over Ricky Morton is, so far the only thing you know is he's there. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. The problem, now I get what you're saying, but I did have a bigger problem when Ricky Morton and them, because when you're watching this show and they're making this big deal about them, this is their, you know, could be the 9th time winning the championships. And, you know, that should have been a big moment. And Ricky Morton should have known better.
Well, I'll tell you something else, too. I think Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson come off looking weak, because when Scott Steiner's music hit and he starts making his way down the steps, they run off set.
Right. And Scott Steiner, you know, the strange thing to me is I still think of him as Scott Steiner from 1999. But then when the Scott Steiner that's walking down the steps, he's definitely not Scott Steiner from 1999. So that's the only bad thing. And, like, I hope they use him right, you know. Now, so far they've done a very good job with the legends. But at the same time, you can have a Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson beating the wild card once, but you don't want to make that every time legends are in the ring, making the new guys looking at the lights. Right. That's my only thing.
Well, and like I said, I mean, you know, I'm okay. Yeah, you don't want to bring the guys whose career has come and gone you don't necessarily want to have them in there burying your young guys that you want to build your company on. But in the same token, you don't want to bring guys like that in either, just to have them doing the job. You know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of fun to have Ricky Morton and them be relevant again in this day and age. You know what I'm saying? As far as, they're the ones walking around with the titles, and they're actively doing their thing. And Scott Steiner, granted, he has gone downhill so bad. I mean, great entrance, great look, but except for his chest. I mean, guy's got a weird looking chest, but his in-ring performance stinks.
I think it's where the muscles, they rip the pectoral muscles.
Yeah.
If you look at Jericho and you look at Kofi Kingston, they both have that, that weird looking chest. But it does make your eyes get drawn towards it.
So, watched AEW, and this whole thing with Jon Moxley joining the Inner Circle, and nah, just kidding. That segment played out for a damn minute. And there was all this, start the music, cut the music. Start the music, cut the music. And at the end of the day, I mean, I just felt like it was more the same old hat. What would have been the true surprise would have been if he would have joined the Inner Circle and stayed in the Inner Circle. Him saying, no, I'm here for the title. I mean, I just felt like that was a very tired... how many times have we seen it play out where the big offer's made, and, oh, they don't know if he's going to take it or not. We don't know. And then they end up, think about back in the day, man, old Paul Jones put the cash out on Boogie Woogie, and old Manny Fernandez cashed in on it, That was good stuff right there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Jon Moxley, too, I mean, I understand, he's a hot face right now, and, putting him in there against Jericho will be good money for the company. It'll definitely make for some interesting matches, but I don't know. That whole ordeal last night was a bit tiring.
Right. I saw it on Twitter. I saw all the clips of that and things. AEW has not... they'll have their moments where they'll catch me and I'll be really into them. But once again, it goes back to I like an hour show. I kind of like that's one thing with AEW Dark. It comes on right after NWA, and it's just an hour show.
Let me say this too. I was watching because I watched, I saw the 6-man tag match and Orange Cassidy was in it. And I know that he's a very controversial figure in the sport of wrestling. But you cannot deny how over that guy is. I'm really, to be honest with you, rather indifferent to him. I mean, I can't say that he... I can't say that he bothers me with his little act, or... I can't say that, but... It's not like when he's doing those little limp-wristed kicks and all that other stuff, like them guys are selling it like he's nailing them hard. They just stand there and look at him, and then, of course, they do something to him. And plus, it's pretty impressive with some of the dives he takes with his hands in his pockets. It's like, but it nonetheless, he's over hardcore with the crowd. And you can't be mad at him for his gimmick getting over, people may not like him, but he gets over, and or some people don't like him. The crowd last night loved him.
He's definitely in the 50-50. Either you love him or you hate him. I haven't seen anyone in between. Like, they don't care. I like him, and I don't know why I really like him. I think he has a real interesting gimmick,
Well, I think for what he's doing and how they're using him is fine. I mean, this is a guy that I can't see any storyline where they write it where he goes for any title. because he's very much a kind of a more of just kind of an attraction. That's why, I don't know, maybe they will put him in singles matches, but that's why when you see him, he's in these tag matches, because this is not a guy that you build a match around, because his gimmick doesn't go for that. He's very much just a come in, do his little high spots, and then go on about his business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with that either if it's entertaining. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody needs to be in the chase for the title to be, entertaining and giving you your money's worth.
Right. Yeah. Going back, you were talking about like people seeing things. This week's on NWA. This won't spoil any. The Dawson brothers are out there, and they're going to be picking names for who's going to be their opponent for the following week. And it was 4 of them. I can't remember who the other 2, but it's the Dawsons and 2 other guys. And they were going to draw. And someone said, "All right, who's going to take on the one Dawson?" And the fan, some fan you could hear over the side holler, like who's his opponent, and the one. Then you watch the other Dawson. He looks and you can see it's like, oh, they just hollered it out, and he wanted to holler something back, but he got a smirk. That was one thing It looks funny because you knew how it was going. And I'll tell you what it was. It was he hollers, hits at your brother, and you see him turn, and he starts smirking a little bit, and he was going to say something. But it was just so funny the way he looked, because, you can't really... You knew where it was going here, So that's why I'm saying it wasn't like a shock, oh my God, the Dawsons are fighting each other or wrestling each other.
Yeah.
But, you know what? I thought the show was good. Once again, this week was... they always have their little spots, but, one thing I'll be interested in doing is seeing... will they start touring, and if they tour, the way AEW does it was with the algorithm, so they see where the most people are watching their show, and that's how they'll sometimes decide on going over to this location and to this location, and I think that's an interesting way to do it, to get the most, because you want to go there, because I would like to see, I don't want to see them start touring, I want them to stay in the studio for the most part, but I think it's also cool when you have the building up to Into the Fire, and you see from the Crockett Cup, or you see from All Out.
Well, I think at some point though, I don't think you can say they can't tour. At some point, the NWA is going to have to bring their show to you, or they're going to have to bring it somewhere. Now, does that mean the NWA is going to go nationwide? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, but at some point, it's realistically, if you've got fans over on the West Coast watching your show, if you never go to the West Coast, then, what are you saying? Come to, just watch it on YouTube or come to the studio. And that may not be the case for, some people. They may not have the funds to make that travel. But I definitely don't want to say either that you just want to rush right out and start these like nationwide tours, until you've got your business, where you got a solid base. But AEW, I mean, doing the algorithm like that, I mean, that does make sense. Go where you're hot.
Right. And, I even like the way that they'll send stars to the different promotions. That's almost very territorial. Hey, you're going to send 2-3 hot stars over into this region. That way you don't even have to worry about doing this big, massive tour.
So let me ask you a question. DDP's going to be in the ring.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
It's fine.
You got to understand, DDP's north of 60 now.
Oh, he's past 60. He's what, 61, 62?
Yeah.
I saw the clip with him in MJF. I didn't like how he was running through all the guys, but I get it. I thought that was the first time I've seen him in a while where I thought, wow, he looks old. Like when he rolled down, he fell down and he was getting up. He looked old. Once again, I think it's like the NWA. I think it's kind of, if you use it right, it can be done good, but you can also go off the rails with it.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes you walk a fine line.
I mean, there's no denying DDP for his age is in good shape. I'm not knocking the fella for how he looks. He's in very good shape. I just don't know that. But again, now he's in there with the Rhodes brothers. Those guys are going to be the ones that's going to do the heavy lifting of the match. He's just going to go in there for some high spots. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, realistically, it's not like they've booked him to wrestle and, now it's going to fall on him to do the spot, to help carry the weight. But, again, it's... I don't know. I kind of thought to myself, why? Because Arn Anderson looks, as far as... I know Anderson's older too, but, if Arn cut a little weight, I could see Arn still going in there and doing a match, but I don't know that he's physically able to do it either.
No. Tully Blanchard probably the best one. He looks like an older version of Tully Blanchard. The Arn Anderson, yeah, he would have to cut just a tad bit of weight.
Yeah, just a tad.
Yeah. Like I said, it all depends on how you use these stars. One thing I'd hate seeing when the old guys just constantly come brought in to and then the young guys put them over. It's like you can't do that. You should be using them to put people over. So if DDP gets pinned by MJF, it might make more sense, And that also don't hurt Dustin, and it don't hurt Cody.
Now, you're right. But now in the sense of the storytelling, in theory, the experience that DDP has gives him the edge on that. But realistically, you could bring old Terry Bradshaw out with all his years of experience onto a college team, and he's going to get crucified.
Right, and he'd be even on a low, like small scale.
Because it's all fine and dandy that that he's got all these years of experience, but age and your physical, that plays a part in it too. Tell you a move I'd like to see go away. That's the hot thing right now is those Canadian, the flipping where they do
Canadian Destroyer.
Canadian Destroyer. Everybody and their brother's doing a fucking Canadian Destroyer now, and it's like, well, first off, that move looks impressive when you get somewhat remotely close. But my opinion is, more times than not, when they go to do the move, them guys aren't anywhere close to having their head where it looks like they're having it drove into the mat. The guy that's supposedly executing the move, who really in theory just holding on, going for the flip, the person that they're supposedly initiating the move to is landing on top of them. It looks like crap.
Who did it besides Ricky Morton? Now
who isn't doing it anymore? They did it last night during that 6-man tag.
Oh, did they?
Cassidy and them, yeah. And the guy landed on top of the guy that was executing the move.
Right.
It's not coming off clean. It doesn't look good. It's like but everybody and their brother wants to do it because it's like, oh, what impressive.
Well, if Ricky Morton can do it, I can do it. That's what people are saying.
Well, even with Ricky Morton's, it looked ridiculous.
Yeah,
it is not a good looking move.
Yeah,
and I think the people that are trying to pull it off aren't able to pull it off to where it looks good.
Now, CM Punk made a Twitter post where the move that he would like to see be left in the last decade was everyone standing around the ring, and then as one guy jumps off the top rope or onto the
right.
On
You
the
got
floor.
20. Yeah, you got 20 guys that are just all happen to be standing there,
and they all just stand there.
Yeah, and then they all turn and look at the same time as the one guy dives.
Right.
Yeah.
That was his big move. I wish I would have thought of a move that I would have liked to have seen left in the last decade. Now that would have been a really good topic.
Well, now I can't say. I didn't come prepared to say what movie I'd like to see left in the last decade.
I figured that's what you were wanting to see left in the last decade.
Well, no, that's just become the new hotness.
Well, I'm just saying.
Late.
Yeah, but you leave it back in the decade, and 10 years later it'll look hot again. So
yeah,
that's what you do.
But no, I can't stand that move. I hate seeing it done because it looks like trash. And it's again, wrestling has done a phenomenal job of letting you know just how fake it is. You know, because Chris Jericho will jump out of the ring after telling the crowd to shut the hell up, and then jump on his podcast and, you know, thank everybody for tuning in and want him to go on his rock and cruise tours and, you know, all this other bullshit. And that's all fine and dandy, but you know, the reality is the more realistic wrestling looks, look, at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar goes out in WWE. And everybody understands that it's a predetermined outcome. But Brock's a very stiff worker. And when Brock went out there and juiced old Randy Orton the hard way, okay, that resonated with the fans. But what that's also going to do is the difference is that's going to make people want to watch Brock Lesnar. Now, I'm not advocating that everybody needs to work stiff. Because again, Orange Cassidy's little shtick doesn't bother me. It's fine. It's a novelty. You know what I'm saying? And I think that they're using him in kind of the perspective they need to. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with tailoring the matches to where the moves seem realistic. And I think things like the Canadian Destroyer should be moves that, one, the first time you're doing it shouldn't be out there in front of a live audience. But two, that should be so few and far between, and only certain talent should be doing that.
That can actually
make it look good.
Because Petey Williams, who brought it here,
right?
You know, he used to make it look great in TNA, and I thought that was really good.
Now you got guys that can't even do they can't get over to where, like I said, they're not landing to where it's all right. Let's just suspend reality here and say that, you know, you're able to flip somehow with me. Well, if you do it and I land on top of you, I finish you.
Right.
Okay.
What do you think about, though, when individuals like Ziggy Dice from the NWA, he lives his character. He was on a podcast I was listening to, and he was saying when he's at the airport, you know, he's pink fanny pack, you know, loud coat. And then you've got the folks like Chris Jericho who will do that stuff, and then they get on the microphone and say, oh, how fake it is. So now Ziggy Dice looks strange living his character while you have the other guys.
Now let me say this. I don't want to. I by no means want to attack Jericho.
No, but I'm using him as an example because that is true.
I mean, yeah, but you know, Jericho is. Jericho has been in the business now for so long, and you know, Jericho here recently was talking about how he doesn't understand why you wouldn't want to do talent swaps and work with other organizations, like when he's talking about AEW working with New Japan. Because let me tell you something, New Japan and Ring of Honor had a hot crowd in Madison Square Garden. Now you couple New Japan with AEW, and buddy, you're put them just anywhere, and you know that's gonna be a big show. That's gonna be a really big show. I shouldn't say that to make it sound like I'm diminishing Ring of Honor, but you know, honestly, right now AEW is acting on a bigger scale than Ring of Honor is. But you know, Ring of Honor, of course, is very much like NWA. You know, they've got a lot of extremely good talent, and they do a very good job of putting their stories together and building their fan base. They've got a very loyal fan base, but as far as on the scope of size and everything like that, you know, AEW is trying to run on WWE size, you know, venues and stuff. So, but it should not be lost on anybody how well Ring of Honor and New Japan did in Madison Square Garden selling them out. You know, Jericho's definitely got a good mind for the business, but as far as that old cat living his gimmick, I think you're going to have people that are going to do that. You know, they say that back in the day, Bret Hart used to live his gimmick. You know, that he absolutely believed his own hype. I think on some level, Ric Flair lived his gimmick. You know, Flair may have toned it back some when he was outside of the ring, but I definitely believe that because any of the horsemen will tell you, when you watch the videos, them talking behind the scenes kind of stuff. When they came out and were cutting promos talking about being out in Las Vegas and staying up all night gambling and this and that, well, it wasn't making it up. That's what they had just done. So the line was blurred. It's kind of like the Road Warriors. Them guys didn't just come out and act tough. They were really tough. They'd been bouncers. These were not two guys to trifle with. So I mean, on some level, I think some of these guys do kind of live their gimmick. Look at Brock Lesnar; he is his gimmick,
right?
You know what I'm saying? I mean, now I realize that Brock's not, what he's doing and what this guy off of NWA is doing different, but I don't know.
The difference is Brock Lesnar gets to just be a real person.
Right.
That's really not much what he's coming out there doing. He acts angry, he fights, and then but
angry.
So when he's in the airport or stuff, and you see him as Brock Lesnar, it's nothing special. That's Brock Lesnar.
Right.
Where Ziggy Dice is having to be in a bleach his hair, wear earrings, wear nice loud suits and fanny packs and things of that nature.
Well, some of that too, though, because let's be honest here. Old Ziggy Dice. How else you going to draw attention to yourself?
Right.
Because on some level, it's a business plan. Because he goes out here, man, draws that kind of attention to himself out there, and people remember that. And then next thing you know, they may stumble upon him on the internet, or they may search for him on the internet if they interact with him and they get a name or something like that. And then next thing you know, they say, oh, well, he's wrestling here on NWA. And then they check out NWA because they want to see him wrestle because they saw him in the Atlanta airport. And then it just has a way of building on itself. So, at some level, it's almost like a calling card,
It is, and you know what? If you remember, if he has a good interaction with fans, and they really like him, that can carry over. Because do you remember Charles? What was his name? Olympia? I can't remember his name. He was up there in AWE. We met him. And he was very good. I wish I could remember his name. His name is slipping my mind. But we had a really good interaction with him. We got a picture with him. And, we were hoping. He's a talent. He was a talent, Now, I don't know if Ziggy Dice will move further. But, no, you're absolutely right. Because we were watching him and going, oh, he was on WWE Raw the other night. He was one of the guys coming out.
Yeah, the guy from Winchester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I remember.
But we had such a good interaction. And then when we saw him, we're like, oh, we know him. We would have, had he got signed, I would have been pulling for this guy.
Right. We recognized him when he come out with that Adam Rose.
Yes.
He was part of that little group there. And, no, but exactly. That's what I guess we're.
I guess that is a good idea to where your character.
You just got to be careful with it because at the end of the day, man, old Ziggy Dice goes out here. Nobody knows who the shit he is. And he's out here bebopping around. On some level, you're also kind of hurting the business if you don't watch what you're doing.
Well, I think you're going to hurt him. You're yourself because you got to play it smart because you don't want to come off stupid.
No, because I was going to say, people aren't going to see it as, that's just that guy. No, he's going to be out there telling everybody, your brother, he's a pro wrestler.
Right.
Oh yeah, there's an example of pro wrestlers right there.
I don't know. I like him. I like Orange Cassidy, and I like Ricky Starks. Some are my three favorite new guys that because they just have this awkward, and I don't even know why I'm into like. They're funny. They make me laugh when I see them. It brings me back to when I was a kid. Just this outrageous character in wrestling. So
what about Joe Hendry, Ring of Honor?
Yeah,
he's got one of the best entrances out there, man.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I believe in Joe Hendry.
So I guess the big final thing what we'll talk about with pro wrestling is. What do you think about Brock Lesnar entering himself into number one, into the Royal Rumble? Do you think that they'll be able to make a payoff for this, or do you think he's going to get thrown out by someone just to set up WrestleMania?
Man, I'll be honest with you.
Since we were talking about Brock, that's why I brought him up.
I don't know. I saw that he was entering as number one. The fun thing about it is they've thrown enough curveballs at us with him that he doesn't just go out there and run through everybody. Now, it's very conceivable that, he'll run through somebody and, run through the group and dominate all the way up to however many. And but then, like you said, I mean, but it's absolutely setting up whoever he's going after for his next program.
I wish I could sit here and go, this has really got me wanting to buy the WWE Network just to watch how it plays out. But once again, it'll be a 5-hour show, and I just don't have 5 hours of life to watch it, and then I don't even watch the follow-up on Monday Night Raw. But I mean,
I just don't care.
Yeah, they're not giving me a reason to care.
Yeah.
Like, they've got to care. They've got wrestlers that make me go, wow. And then it's just like...
Oh, no, they've got top talent. And they are definitely, when it comes to overall organization and stuff like that, I mean, you just can't beat them as far as their production quality, the way they do business. But they've been doing it forever.
Right.
Okay, but at the end of the day... I don't find them as they just don't do it for me, and it's no different than you go onto the drink aisle and say, do I want to buy Mountain Dew? Do I want to buy Coca-Cola? Do I want to buy RC? Do I want to buy Dr. Pepper? You're going to pick whichever one you like. Well, Coca-Cola might be the king of them all. Coca-Cola's been around forever, marketing juggernauts, this, that, and the other. But I just might want Mountain Dew. And that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, but let me say this too. I'm also jaded towards the WWE in the sense that a lot of the state of the wrestling is, because Vince McMahon was so insistent on, telling you how fake it was. And McMahon, through the years, he's gone through periods where he waters it down. And then the fact that it infuriates me that the way that he doesn't... at the end of the day, man, listen, WWE's not going to listen to the fans. WWE's going to absolutely tell you who they want. It's no different than with John Cena or Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is the new John Cena. Nobody gives two craps about Roman Reigns. The best thing they could do to Roman Reigns is turn him heel and give people a reason to boo him. No, that's the guy. That's the guy we want.
And even when fans do force someone and they are forced to push them, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, look how they get used. They are just torn up. Zack Ryder, they tell him, hey, we don't have nothing for you. He goes out and makes himself popular on the YouTube channel. They bring him back to job him out.
Right.
And it almost makes you go like, why did you even waste your time?
That's right. For Zack Ryder to have been as hot as he was on the internet, they absolutely squandered that cat. Now,
because if you remember, he won the Intercontinental belt in that ladder match at WrestleMania, and everyone pops for it. And then the next night he's getting rolled up, some squash match.
Right.
So it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. No, WWE absolutely is going to tell you who you're going to cheer for or who they want you to cheer for.
Right. Talking about, WWE Network, just in streaming services this past week, there was an article written about DAZN. They're now Eddie Hearn, the promoter for, Anthony Joshua and many others. I think he might have some type of stake in this thing, I think. But he's saying there's talk of DAZN going to $50 a month. So that's going to be the cost of almost of a pay-per-view because, UFC this month's going to be $65. And, that's probably what Tyson Fury and stuff's going to be. And it makes me, it's interesting to me that when you start these streaming services, you're paying big bucks.
But what's going to happen is, listen, these pay-per-views and stuff like that, UFC talks about, they see a dip in numbers with some of their fights and stuff like that. Well, I can tell you right now, man, that's why I only buy one here and one there, is because you're starting to price yourself out. I'm not saying that I'm above paying that for certain fights, but man, you're not getting that for me every month. And let me tell you something, DAZN going to $50 a month. Okay, well, that's all fine and dandy, but you better start giving me some if you're going to pay for that, you better give me some content that I want to watch. I mean, big fights too. Not none of this crap of, it's going to be on DAZN, but it's going to be an additional horse shit. If I'm paying you $50 a month, it better be free on DAZN.
Well, now, so that really pretty much what's happened is they were wanting to kill pay-per-view, but now all of a sudden they're pricing themselves at pay-per-view level. Now, I don't know what their yearly plan's going to be, like if you pay for the whole year, but if you got to figure, if you pay, there's no way that they're going to go from $100 a year to $600 a year. Because that's what it would be.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you pay that?
What, $600?
Would you pay $600 a year to have DAZN?
No. DAZN here stinks. I bought it, for the Andy Ruiz 2 fight. Joshua fight, and then at the end of the month I said, well, there'll be Fedor versus Rampage, and I said, well, I'll pay $20, and there was shit on that streaming service. If you want to get a good streaming service, go ESPN Plus.
Right.
You've got PFL, you've got UFC, you've got soccer, you got basketball and football, you got the documentaries, you have a whole bunch of stuff. You know what was on DAZN when I flip it on? It would be World Championship darts, and it was like something else. And now there's an Ak and Barak show that's on Sirius XM that's also on. They're from DAZN, and they have a show on there. They talk about boxing, but I never tuned into them on DAZN to watch these two guys talk. DAZN, there's absolutely no way I would pay $600 a year for it, nor would I pay. I could see me paying $50 a year if it was the right fight. But the problem is, you pay. We talked about this before. You give $50 million for 11 fights from Canelo. You cannot put him in a ring where he's a 400 favorite.
Right. No. He needs to be fighting guys that are dangerous, that are going to cause people to want to buy and put money down. Not tomato cans.
Correct. And
no safe fights.
And now,
if Canelo wants the big boy money, Canelo's got to take the big boy fights.
When we watched Tyson Fury on ESPN Plus the 2 times, and he came close to losing that one just from that cut.
Right.
But it's on. He's trying to keep warm, and I get it. And it's just on like at free TV. But if you're asking me to pay a streaming service type deal, I think especially when you're a champion, you need to be fighting. All right, if number one's not ready, number two. If number two's not ready, number three. You've got to stay. Nothing drives me crazier when you have like, hey, here's this big great fight coming up, Triple G, but he's 1,200 favorite.
Yeah.
But no, I was, but at some point, fans have got to pay for it. I mean, the bad thing is you want the stuff. I'm just curious how it's going to play out, how this is all going to shake.
All right, so if I was buying a pay-per-view per month, say, then $50 a month, really, if that's going to get me all the fights anyways, isn't really a stretch of the imagination. But the problem is, I'm not going to pay $50 a month for DAZN when the bulk of what I pay my money to watch is UFC. You see? So there's no value in it. Yeah, there's going to be boxing matches that are going to pop up that I want to see, but I'm not following boxing to where, I've got to have DAZN. And I'm not. I mean, the last boxing pay per view we bought was Triple G and Canelo 2.
No, it was Tyson Fury and Wilder.
I thought Canelo and them fought.
It's been a while since we actually bought a boxing pay per view. All of our boxing we've watched has been on ESPN Plus.
Okay, yeah. Well, but anyways, yeah. So it's not very frequently. Now if UFC come out and said, "Hey, for our streaming service, we're going to charge $50 a month," But with that, you're going to get all the pay-per-views. You're going to, just kind of like how WWE's doing with their channel. You know what I'm saying? You pay for their service, you get all their pay-per-views,
and you get content and new stuff.
Content. Yeah, that's right. And if UFC come out and said, "Hey, we're going to offer $50 a month for this," well, I would probably be more inclined to look at that. But see, none of that. But even that, I'm hesitant to say because. Once then they lock you into paying $50 a month, then you would start getting these crap cards. Oh yeah, it's free, with my. But this is not a pay-per-view that I would have bought anyways. You see what I'm saying? So it's like that. This would have been a month where I could have pocketed my $50 because I wouldn't have bought this fight anyways. It's not like it was, man, back when.
When you
had
fights, you could make a stacked card.
Yeah.
Now you're having 48 cards, and in turn, it's very spread thin. Look, we'll talk about Conor versus Cowboy next weekend. That's a hot show. Then it rolls into John Jones Reyes. That'll be hot. And then it's
yeah, but who's fighting on the John Jones Reyes fight?
See, that's something I would have to look up.
John Jones historically has been on weak cards. They put all their eggs in their basket with, well, John Jones is going to cause people to buy it. Anderson Silva used to be on weak cards. They put all their money, it's going to be, Anderson Silva and versus so-and-so, and they just wanted you to buy it because it was Anderson Silva. And, no, I mean, if you're going to get my money each month, then you need to give me stacked cards.
Yeah.
You need to give me a reason to watch. And, But again, I'd probably be more inclined to look at a UFC because we buy more of their pay-per-views than we do boxing.
Well, the thing is with the UFC is a lot of times the fighters are, this guy should beat this guy. Example, Conor McGregor and Cowboy. You can sit here and go, well, he should have a little bit more of an advantage and stand up with Cowboy. But it's not so far apart where you're like, okay, he's just going to go in there and have a time with an old man.
No, Conor McGregor is obviously a cash cow, but let's be real. Let's call a spade here. He absolutely has more to lose than Cowboy does, because Cowboy's lost. You know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously Conor has lost too, but Cowboy's never been the kind of draw that Conor is. But for Conor to keep commanding that kind of money, Conor's going to have to start putting some W's back on his win record. And I'm not talking about just a win here and then a series of losses and then another win. Now, you need to start stacking you need to start getting a streak started. And I'm telling you, man, if he goes in here, man, old Cowboy beats the brakes off of him, stick a fork in him, man, because I don't see how you sell. I don't see how you convince fans that Conor McGregor is such a hot commodity when his last 3 fights will have been losses.
I think it'll all depend on how he gets, if he was to lose against Cowboy. But I tell you, the Nate Diaz fight's always there. I think that's probably about the last. If he was to lose, you could probably throw him in there against Nate, and then that would be the end of Conor's career. He would but they're like, no one's clamoring for Khabib and Conor too.
Except for Conor.
Conor and Dana. Dana has made the comment that if he wins, he gets Khabib. And then it leaves Justin Gaethje out, who's started off rocky, but
active fighter.
He's active. He's actually got a 3-4 fight win streak. Yeah, he's being told, hey, here, fight this guy. Here, fight this guy. And just like anyone, when you put that up there and you go in there just to stay active, you can lose because they're not giving you a tomato can. Now, how Frankie Edgar, I don't know how he was able to convince. He put up his title shot, and who did he fight? Against Brian Ortega. Someone got injured. So they said, here, fight Brian Ortega.
Right.
It was Max Holloway. He said, fight Ortega. So they fought and he lost.
Right.
And then Frankie came out, and his management was like, look, if you better give him a title shot because he, otherwise no one's ever going to put up their title shot when you fall into a situation like that. If the champion falls out, they're not going to fight some replacement. But in my world, it would just mean like going to a game. Like if you put $20 on black and it hits red, well, what were you expecting? It's not like you can say, hey, give me back my money. You gambled it.
Right.
You know.
He could have said no.
Yeah. And I just don't. But I'm just interested in seeing where the streaming services go. Because you keep offering all these big dollars.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the streaming services is in a huge boom right now. And things are going to... It's going to get worse for the streaming services before it gets better. And I say that because they were already talking about Disney Plus is pulling, some of their stuff. And it's got fans kind of in an uproar. And then... as far as when you start talking about UFC and DAZN and all this other stuff, and what's that mean for the world of pay-per-view, who knows? Who knows what that means for the world of pay-per-view, especially, but again, I think the thing about it is everybody and their brother goes, oh, I want to give you this and that and the other, but, WWE wanted to create its own channel. And basically, they were one of the first to successfully create a good streaming service. But WWE is nowhere near washing their hands of USA or Fox or any of them. You know what I'm saying? They're nowhere near that.
If they were to just go straight streaming services, their attendance would die immediately. People would quit watching, and there would be hardly any talk about them.
Correct.
You still need the conventional TV in some aspects. So
but the other thing is, I think that hurts personal opinion here, but I think the other thing that keeps WWE, because look, man, that's the deal. If we still watch WWE pay-per-views, that's the deal right there. That's the way to go.
Right.
But why do I want to pay any amount of money to watch their pay-per-view when everything they're going to do on pay-per-view is going to have already played out on Raw and SmackDown?
Right.
You're giving it to me for free. Why am I going to pay for it?
Yeah.
I'm not. That's why you got to bring the jobbers back. That's why you got to quit putting these guys in the ring together before they go and actually have a match. Now, obviously, if you want to have like a tag match or something like that for guys that are going to have singles. But at the end of the day, man, there's no good reason for me to pay for their service. None.
Mm-mm.
And listen, those guys, WWE's got their mind. They know what they're doing. They're making money. I mean, yeah, I'm sure. You got a percentage of people out here that are just going to pay their money for WWE because they're not, they just are. But you can't tell me WWE couldn't grow their business and go to that next level, if they started giving people a reason to buy their channel.
It's a strange thing because I feel like it was some guys here who would hold the MMA here, and it's almost like you're wanting to. They think by giving you so much, especially on the live event, the pay-per-views, it's exhausting. So, like you remember, last year was the first WrestleMania. I mean, it was pretty much we just left and it was still going on. You know, so when it becomes an 8-hour event, it's not that good. There's nothing you can do to make it compelling enough to go. I'm watching for 8 hours straight.
Right. There is nothing about WWE programming that's going to make me, pay-per-view or not, that's going to make me sit down and say, listen, I'm going to dedicate the next 12 hours to WWE programming.
Right.
No way. No way.
And that's, once again...
And, buddy, let me tell you something. If they want to do all this pre-WWE or pre-WrestleMania bullshit, we'll do it. But when you get down to the actual card itself, man, if you go past 2 hours, you're struggling.
Well, that's why NWA's Into the Fire was so good, because at 2.5 hours, they were calm. It was going off the air. And that was the old style of wrestling. Remember, it would start at 8 p.m. It would end at 10:30, and maybe 10:45 at the latest. But then that was it.
Yeah.
But now it's like, hey, we got to get 3, 4, 5, hours in before you, and then now we're going to watch a pay-per-view that's going to be so long.
But at the end of the day, man, WWE doesn't care about our opinion.
They don't, but they're going.
And if we never watch their product again,
they don't care.
They don't care. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like how we've said before about a friend of ours. If he never darkened corned beef's.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with WWE here. If we just totally walked away from it, they're out nothing. Because we spend $0 in WWE merchandise. Or in anything WWE.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, anyway.
Yeah. So, who do you got for the Connor Cowboy fight?
I mean, Connor's the favorite, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to pull for Cowboy, even though he's the underdog, just because, I'm a Conor McGregor fan, but Conor McGregor I don't have any faith that he's in it for the long term. And and the question is, why would he be? Guy's got a stupid amount of money. He's got so many other side projects going on. This guy doesn't have the fire like he used to. He just wants to. He's got the Hulk Hogan syndrome right now. If Conor McGregor could go in there tomorrow and beat Khabib, we'd never see him again. No, that's not true. The only reason he's back right now is, one, that BMF title is killing him.
Yes.
He can't stand the fact that he wasn't one of them fighting for the BMF because his ego can't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And two, he wants to right the wrong. That's the only two reasons he's back. He has no interest in fighting Nate Diaz because Nate Diaz is going to beat him in the rubber match because he ain't got the cardio to go with Diaz.
I think if he could get the BMF title, he would be done. I think that's probably the only thing he probably wants that win on Khabib. I get it.
He's got the.
But he's got the win over Nate Diaz, and that was the last.
And that's why he's not interested in fighting Nate.
Correct.
Diaz.
And it was probably, as you could watch both of them, they were extremely hard for both of them. He had a difficult time.
Yeah.
The BMF title, if he was to win that, I could see him riding off into the sunset. He'll just take, hey, Khabib's a lot better fighter. Let them boys wrestle for and fight for that stuff.
Well, but at the end of the day, too, like I said, I think that's the two motivating things for him right now. But but Cowboy's getting long in the tooth with his career. The reality is Conor McGregor probably should win this fight.
Right.
But I'm going to pull for Cowboy because Cowboy's been a consistent one. When Conor McGregor was out here, drinking his whiskey and making his clothing line, Cowboy was still walking that aisle for us and giving us what we wanted. So I'm going to give my loyalty in this fight to Cowboy.
All right. I'm going to go with... I honestly think it's a definite toss-up. I'll probably go with Conor just because it seems like every time Cowboy's put into the big spot,
right,
that's when he falls.
That's when he chokes. That's
and I don't know why. I mean, he's so good. I like Cowboy. I think he's a great fighter. He's better on the ground because, I heard, I wish I could remember who said it, but they said what he should do is go in, yank, because they say he's a slow starter, yank him to the ground so he could start on the ground.
GSP was talking about he's training with Cerrone. And he says that he has a very underrated ground game.
Right.
And boy, wasn't that shock the world. But look, it's not going to happen. The Cowboys already said that he's coming in there. He's going to give the fans what they want. He's going to stand and bang. It's going to be a stand-up war.
Yeah, I think he probably
and
wants...
I'm going to tell you, the longer it goes, the more in favor for Cerrone.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to survive his first couple rounds. But you start getting round 3. You think they'll go 5 rounds with this? And that's the main event. They still doing the 5 rounds?
Oh, yeah, they'll do. They're doing 5 rounds.
All right, so it goes into the championship rounds. McGregor starts winding. And I think you better watch out because Cowboy will still have power to knock him out in the late rounds.
I expect Cowboy to use a lot of his kicks. He's going to be kicking to Conor's legs. He's probably going to be kicking... I bet you that's what's going to happen. He's going to... That's what I would do. But
I just think it's funny. Nate Diaz and Mazadov fight for the BMF title, and that title has created more fire for people. Not just Conor McGregor, but you got females wanting to fight for a BMF title.
Oh, absolutely. And then if you looked at that card, we talked about this. That whole card was good.
That whole card was good. The Rock walked the belt out. I mean, man, that was big time, man. That was a fun card. That was top to bottom. That was a fun card.
And no one really wants to see it. I know everyone thought they ended wrong, but no, I don't know if it did. It was going right, but it was like at the end of the day, I was happy with everything.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, man, everybody on that card fought extra hard because they were fighting on the BMF card. Right. So everybody that fought on that card left it in the ring, man. That title did more good. Some people were critical and said it was, it was gimmicky and blah blah blah. But man, look, it created a lot of excitement. It put a lot of eyes on the sport, from a lot of different venues and stuff. And man, it touched some of them fighters and reignited fires on some of these guys, man, that probably haven't had it. They're always going to have a level of competition in one fight, but you've kind of given them another brass ring to reach for.
Right. A made-up belt makes people more excited than their actual belt itself. I mean, that's really what it is.
But look, at the end of the day, Mazadov's the baddest motherfucker champion. Right. Or does he sound more intimidating? He's welterweight champion.
Right, because people say, "What weight's that?"
Yeah. BMF is self-explanatory. Right. And that doesn't have a weight category. That's a bad motherfucker right there. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I guess we'll end it right there. I guess next week what we'll do is we're going to go more into the UFC's Conor versus Cowboy.
That's right.
And we will talk about the undercard and the main event a little bit more. So do you have anything else?
That's it.
All right, and so until next time, talk to you later. Hey, thanks for joining us here on Potato Shot Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. Hit the like and subscribe button on there if you don't mind, please. Or you can go over to Twitter and find us at Potato Shot PC. And otherwise, have a good day.